So now that we are in 2026, we gotta talk about all the things that you need to be doing this year as a Pokemon Go player. And that's what this video is going to be all about. I'm going to be discussing all the different aspects of Pokemon Go that you need to be focusing on during this year. Hey, what's happening everyone? Jinsula here with a brand new Pokemon Go video. I hope your day is going really well, and let's get right into it. Alright, so we gotta talk about what is important in Pokemon Go, especially when it comes to this new year. I think a lot of players are focusing on different aspects of Pokemon Go, but I really do think that for these 7 items, they are going to be the hallmark of what you do in 2026. And ultimately, a lot of this stuff was in relation to what was introduced last year. I think 2025 was a bit of a landmark year for Pokemon Go, specifically because they added a whole bunch of gameplay elements that are just incredibly important. So that is precisely what you need to be focusing in 2026, all the different things that they added in the previous year. So I think it's very important that we start this off by talking about one of the most recent additions to Pokemon Go's gameplay, and that is the new friendship system. In case you didn't know, there is a new tier of friendship levels, and it is called Forever Friends. To get Forever Friends, you need to level up your friendship levels with your friends, and it's going to require almost the exact same amount of time as having a brand new friend go all the way to best friends. So it is quite a lot of work. You want to make sure that you're actively engaging with your friends every single day. This means sending and receiving gifts. This also means doing raids together, as well as doing trades together, battling together, whatever it may be. But you will want to make sure you're interacting with as many friends in your friends list as you possibly can. So in 2026, I think this is going to be a very important thing, because if you were to hit Forever Friends with your friends, you could actually engage in remote trades with those friends. This is really important because remote trading is going to be the future. This is essentially your way of boosting up your Pokemon Go collection, as well as getting certain Pokemon that you've always wanted, and it's going to be through these Forever Friend remote trades. Now, the next thing that you should focus on in 2026 is going to be hyper training. And hyper training is something that was introduced in the previous year through the golden bottle cap and silver bottle cap. And this is something that has added a new element of training your Pokemon in Pokemon Go. Basically, when you use a golden bottle cap on a Pokemon, you can now increase the IVs of that Pokemon as much as you want. It's going to require a lot of very difficult tasks, but the reward is substantial, because let's say you were to use your golden bottle cap on a shiny Pokemon. Well, at the end of the road, you're going to make a Shundo out of that Pokemon, and that is actually pretty big, because up until this point, in order to get a Shundo, you basically had to get extremely lucky. But now, you could just train up your Pokemon and get that Shundo, and I think that is absolutely massive. And then of course, with the silver bottle cap, you actually only increase one of your IVs all the way to the end. So if you happen to have a Pokemon that is, let's say, like a 15, 9, and 15, then you could use the silver bottle cap to make that Pokemon a 100% IV. But regardless, hyper training is going to be a key thing, and as Niantic releases more bottle caps this year, which I'm assuming they're going to do, you will definitely want to focus in on it. So yeah, hyper training is definitely going to be super important. Now, another thing that you should do, and I think this is something that is very important every single year, is of course optimizing your Pokemon storage and of course your bag space. And when it comes to Niantic releasing more bag space and more Pokemon storage, they are often doing it, and it's gotten to a point where we're almost approaching 10,000 Pokemon storage, which I don't understand how that actually works physically. Like, do you carry around 10,000 little Pokeballs in your bag? I don't know how it works, but regardless, yeah, this is something that you need to do. Sure, you could just continuously buy more Pokemon storage and more bag space, but really you want to get to a point where you have all of this specific essential items that you need, and you clear out all the junk, the items that you hardly ever use. These could include charge TMs and fast TMs. Specifically for me, that seems to be the case. Or it could be something like regular Pokeballs, like if you only want to use Great Balls and Ultra Balls, whatever it may be, you want to optimize your storage and bag space, because when it comes to this coming new year, you're going to be using a lot of items. You're also going to be catching a whole bunch of different Pokemon, and that has definitely been true with the previous year, because I always neglected managing my Pokemon storage to my detriment, because when it came to big events like Pokemon GO Tour and Pokemon GO Fest, sometimes I'm not as prepared as I could be, because I do not have a lot of Pokemon storage left, and I need to make sure I have a lot of Pokemon spaces available, because I'm going to be catching a whole bunch of Pokemon during these special events, and sometimes I might pick up some shinies and shundos that I definitely want to keep. And yeah, it really depends on my Pokemon storage. So yeah, that is something that you should really focus in on, especially in this coming year, where we're likely going to be getting a lot of really awesome events. Now, the fourth thing you should focus on is when it comes to raid battles, you will want to make sure you have a great team for pretty much every single type. And the reason why I say that is because this is going to be a year where I do think we're going to be getting some key raid bosses, and some raid bosses are actually going to be incredibly powerful. I don't necessarily think we're going to get additional fusions or additional Pokemon with, I don't know, some sort of special effect like the crown forms of Zacian and Zamazenta. There's not really many options for that sort of line of Pokemon, but I do think we're going to be getting some really powerful Mega Evolutions, and that means you're going to be farming up some Mega Energy for certain Pokemon, and you're going to want to make sure you have a lot of very powerful Pokemon to take down those Mega Evolution raids. In particular, I think we're going to be getting some of the new Mega Evolutions that were introduced in Pokemon Legends ZA, and it might be as soon as this year's GO Tour event, which is actually going to be next month. But I also think that this is going to be the year that we're going to finally see Mega Mewtwo X and Mega Mewtwo Y. And just like with Mega Rayquaza, those could be some of the most powerful Pokemon in the game, but also really difficult to take down in raid battles. So yeah, I think it's very important that you focus in on making your Pokemon as strong as possible, because some of the raiding content is going to be pretty challenging, but also incredibly important. Now, another thing that I think is something you should focus on in 2026 is going to be special research. And the reason why I say that is because we're likely going to be getting a lot of different special research in 2026, specifically stuff like the Masterwork research for Shiny Mythicals and all that sort of stuff, and you do not want to get overwhelmed by having so many different special research lines still open. This has been my problem for the past several years. I've been neglecting special research, and because of that, I have a whole bunch that I have never completed, and it has caused me to essentially forget about them, and I think that's something I want to clean up. So in 2026, that's something I'm going to be committing myself to, and maybe you could do the same, and it's going to benefit you. I really do think we're going to get some really awesome special research this year, and you will want to make sure you complete them for some awesome rewards. And 2026 was a great opportunity for you to also improve on your various skills in Pokemon Go. And I think this includes things like ball throwing. Like if you're not hitting excellent curveball throws consistently, then that is something you could work on. Try to practice your throws with every single Pokemon encounter. Make sure you're utilizing every single skill to your advantage. This could also include when it comes to legendary raids, you will want to do things like the set circle trick, and then of course like just practicing your excellent curveball throws. I think that's super important. And then of course, there's a lot of other things like the quick catch method. You will want to see if you can catch as many Pokemon as you possibly can within a short period of time. This is something that I do all the time when it comes to spotlight hours and community days, when there is a whole bunch of spawns on screen. So I try to see how many Pokemon I can catch within a short period of time. So yeah, I think this is a very important thing, and you definitely want to make sure you're continuously improving on your different skills in Pokemon Go. And it's not just with ball throwing, of course, there's also PvP. This is something that a lot of players tend to neglect, myself included, but it could be a good year for you to work on your PvP skills, because when it comes to PvP, it is actually a really great source of different rewards, like rare candies and Stardust, as well as some rare Pokemon like Pikachu Libre. So continuously improving in PvP is going to be something that is very beneficial for you, and actually, I think this is a great year to do that, because recently Niantic actually quietly fixed a lot of issues with PvP, and I think the system is a lot better than it used to be. In terms of gameplay, it is still quite frustrating, and there is an element of rock, paper, scissors, which I do not like, but maybe there's going to be some improvements to PvP this year, and that again is another reason why maybe you could focus in on PvP during this year. And one quick mention of something that you should do during this year before I move on to the last subject is all the various daily tasks that you should upkeep. This includes your first catch of the day, as well as your first spin of the day. You will want to maintain those streaks, but of course, there's also things like the daily adventure incense and the most recently added daily adventure egg. Make sure you're doing all of those every single day, because you do not want to miss out on those rare Pokemon that those things can spawn, such as the Galarian legendary birds. All right, and finally, this is the last thing that I think is super important for you to work on in 2026, and that is, of course, working towards the new level cap for your trainer, which is level 80. If you're really close, if you're already at level 70 or higher, then you should continue on until you hit level 80, and if you're a newer player who is not even yet at level 70, then that is definitely a big stretch goal for you to work on. Regardless, I think 2026 is going to be the year where a lot of people are going to be focusing on leveling up their trainer, and if you're not already level 80, then this is definitely something you should actively be working on. At least for myself, that is something that I should be doing, but I really haven't been playing as much Pokemon Go lately, so at least in 2026, I want to hit level 80. I know I can do it if I really put my mind to it. And yeah, I think for you as well, this is definitely something you should focus in on, so that once you hit level 80, you're going to be good to go. Alright, and that essentially concludes my list of the things that you should be focusing on in 2026. And of course, a lot of this stuff involves things that Niantic added recently, so it's really exciting to be playing Pokemon Go right now. It just feels like a completely different game. Yes, there's certain elements of Pokemon Go that has remained for the past several years, but I do think that Pokemon Go is feeling like a much better game, and now is a great time for you to utilize some of the most positive changes. I mean, it's just a really fun game. It always has been. There's always definitely elements of Pokemon Go that are evergreen, that are just always going to be fun, but I do think that for some of the things that they added recently, like remote trades, the new friendship system with hyper training and all this good stuff, like the game just feels incredible to play. And yeah, I think 2026 is going to be a great year. May not necessarily be as much of a landmark year compared to last year, but at the very least, it does look like Niantic is continuously improving this game, and I look forward to some of the changes that are going to be coming in 2026. And that's gonna be it for this video. That's pretty much all I have to say. Make sure you leave a comment down below regarding everything that I talked about. Hit that like button and subscribe button if it's your first time here, and also don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you know exactly when I upload videos. And also check out the links in the description below. And I am Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself today, and I'll catch you in the next video.